Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the Frontline changes report for the past 24 hours. And there is quite a few frontline changes report, and there is very significant changes in certain places. So we have frontline changes over as studied here. Leeman Persy over the Kupiansk front, Klishchiivka at the Bakhmut front, Niu-York as in the New York front, Vodiane in the Donetsk front, Voleda and Prashestivka. And we're going to start off with studies here. This frontline change I've already mentioned in the situation report. Basically, it's just a geolocation of Russian forces getting attacked by Ukrainian new type of drone where they pour fire onto the tree line. But this confirmed Russian presence around in this part of studies here. So that is the main significance. The drone is not important. The frontline change more important. So the next frontline change is over at Leeman Persy. So this is over in the Kupiansk front. And at the Kupiansk front, in the west or south northwest of Sinkivka or southwest of Leeman Persy, which is over here, Russian forces has been geolocated in this part of the forest, confirming Russian advance in this region of the forest that was previously understood to be under Ukrainian control, and this also invalidated a little bit of this Ukrainian claims in the northern part of this forest region. So this is interesting frontline change. I wonder if the Russians will continue to attack further south, but we shall see how these develop over in the Kupiansk front. And so this Kupiansk, by the way. So the next frontline change is over at Klishchiivka. So at the Bakhmut front, this is Kubat City, and there is this very interesting geolocation. So in this geolocation, Russian forces has been attacked by Ukrainian drones, but this location geolocated is along the canal, and it's really far away from the understood front line, and this means that the Russian forces may have captured this area here. Tentatively, we are going to set this as a firm capture. Because it is a geolocation ultimately, but we'll definitely need more information on more sources of information, more mappings from trusted sources to corroborate such an advance, because this is a very significant advance. It could have huge implication into the tactical and strategic situation around this region here. But this is really far away from the front line. We're talking about like 2.5 kilometers, around 2.5 kilometers advance from the established front line. So we need to take this rather seriously. This is extremely unusual, and if this is confirmed, then there's a high chance that the Russians may have already taken like this much of the ground. But this much ground is a lot, but we cannot confirm, so we have to wait for more information. But this is indicative of some kind of a Russian advance in this region of Klishchiivka. The next frontline change, we go to the next front line over at New York front, and there is some interesting geolocation. Ukrainian forces has been geolocated to be attacked by Russian drones, where they have armored vehicles moving, some kind of MRAP type vehicles that traveled to the western part of New York, which means that the Ukrainians have launched a counter attack in this region here. And although the armored vehicles was destroyed, but it's still Ukrainian presence in this region here. The weird thing is that the Ukrainian mapping, Deep State UA, have basically mapped that the Russians have established more control around this region here. For them, the Russians actually advance in their mapping. So this is some kind of a weird situation where we have the Ukrainian mapping, the latest mapping that they have, contradicting the geolocation, and because the Ukrainian mapping would take precedence over the geolocation, because geolocation, the video, we do not know when the video was actually filmed. That's a problem as well. We just have to compromise, and this is going to be a Ukrainian presence, possible Ukrainian presence. We're going to leave the overlapping mapping around here, and we will continue to see whether this Ukrainian attack persists or not, because it's very unusual, but very unusual situation per se. But the Ukrainian attacking in this direction would be disastrous for the Russian forces, I would say, as they can cut off the Russian forces that is currently besieging Nelipivka. So because the Russians are currently besieging Nelipivka, but of course for the Ukrainians to retake New York will be a totally different level of undertaking of endeavor. So we will have to it's not a firm thing that the Ukrainians could do it. So at this moment, so we have to wait and see how this develop. But this is just some very weird mapping. So I just want to highlight that there is this weird conundrum between Ukrainian mapping and the geolocation. And the next frontline change is over at the Donetsk front at Vodiane. We already has reported that the Russians have advanced in this region according to the Ukrainian mapping, and based on the latest Russian mapping, they have claimed that the entire highway region has already been taken by the Russians, which makes perfect sense. So but tentatively I'm going to put this as a Russian claim for now until the Ukrainian mapping corroborates with this information. So otherwise the fighting is still in the region of Vodiane, and south of this position over at Voleda, we also have somewhat of a different a more advanced mapping from the Russian side, where they claim that this area here is under Russian control. So previously Ukrainians are geolocated over here and over here. So these two locations is still under Ukrainian control. The Russians are now getting closer and closer to Voleda. So we shall see how this develop in this region here. And finally, we have frontline changes over at Prishestivka. As I mentioned in yesterday's frontline changes report and SIPREP, or probably conclusions, the Russian forces, as after they established this full capture of Prishestivka, I mentioned that this salient here is probably going to be the next target, as the Russians probably going to straighten the front line, and generally this salient is undefendable. And as just so interestingly, Deep State UA really has corroborated this information. The Russian forces have now taken this entire salient region in the south of Prishestivka. Russian forces have taken all these grounds, and they are now heading in the direction of Zolota Neva, and also to secure the entire highway. So this is the very wavy, very arrowy kind of situation over here. But if I zoom out, you probably see the strategic situation a bit better. So we have so this is Novomayorsky, by the way. So the Russian forces have taken this line as they secure the north of Novomayorsky, as the Ukrainians probably would have immediately retreated from this region after the fall of Prishestivka. And so the Ukrainians would now fall back into Zolota Neva, where the Russians is likely going to attack next. And then we shall see the Russians probably going for the securing of the northern part of Novodonetsk, and it will link all the way over to the Velikonovosilka sector, which would then leads to this kind of situation. But anyway, this is analysis. We'll talk more about in the more relevant videos, probably the SIPREP or probably during the conclusions. So anyway, thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe, check out the conclusions, the latest conclusion, which analyze the latest situation in the Ukraine war, and I'll see you guys in the next update.